Imagine your paycheck disappears next Friday. No warning, no backup plan. How many days before your bills start bouncing? For most people, it's fewer than 30. Picture three versions of you. One with $0 set aside, one with just $300, and one with $800. Same crisis, three completely different stress levels. What tiny buffer would change your choices in an emergency? Call your parents, swipe a card, or calmly tap a separate stash. Think of your money like a house. Most people obsess over decorating the living room, investing, side hustles, fancy budgeting apps, while the foundation is a thin slab of concrete poured years ago and never checked again. An emergency fund is that invisible foundation, boring when everything's fine, absolutely decisive when anything cracks. If your financial life were a phone, this wouldn't be the shiny new app. It'd be the low battery mode that quietly keeps everything running when power is scarce. Not exciting, not impressive, just the difference between shutting down and staying functional long enough to fix the problem. This isn't about perfection or building a vault overnight. It's more like setting up a small pressure valve in your system. When life suddenly twists the dial, your hours get cut, the dog needs surgery, your roommate moves out. You don't want your only options to be panic, denial, or debt. You also don't need heroic amounts of willpower to start. You need a clear role for this money and a way to keep it from getting tangled with everything else. Think of a do not touch shelf in your pantry. When you're hungry, you grab what's in front of you, not the earthquake supplies. An emergency fund works the same way when it's set up right. Present but out of reach, visible but not tempting. In the next sections, you'll define what emergency realistically means for your life, figure out how big your personal safety net should be, and map out how to build it step by step, without putting the rest of your life on pause. Before you can build that safety net, you need to know what it's actually protecting. Not in theory, in your real, messy life. An emergency for a freelancer with irregular income doesn't look the same as for a salaried employee with benefits. A surprise $400 bill lands differently if you live alone than if you're feeding 3 kids and a dog. So instead of chasing some generic right number, you're going to design a fund that fits you the way a tailored coat fits your shoulders. Snug where it matters, flexible where it needs to be. Think of your emergency fund as a backstage crew. It's not on stage making money or paying for fun stuff. Its whole job is to quietly handle crises so the show doesn't get cancelled. That means it has to be boring on purpose, predictable, ready, never double-booked with vacation plans or impulse buys. You're not committing to a lifelong rule here. You're setting up something you can adjust as your life changes. New job? Different city? Partner moves in? Your safety net can grow or shrink with you. For now, your only task is to get clear on 2 things. What would actually count as an emergency for you, and how much money it would realistically take to keep your basic life running if things went sideways for a while. Let's start by zooming in on what your emergency fund is actually defending. Your bare minimum version of life. Not your ideal week with brunch and streaming subscriptions. Your keep the lights on and the roof overhead version. Think of it like switching your life to airplane mode. When your phone is in airplane mode, it still does what matters. Photos, notes, downloaded music, maps you saved ahead of time. What disappears are all the live, nice-to-have connections. Your emergency budget works the same way. Core systems on, extras paused. To design that, you need 2 things. 1. A list of your true essentials. 2. A realistic sense of how shaky or stable your situation is. Start with the first. Grab a sheet of paper or an app and imagine you just lost your main income for 3 months. For each bill or habit, ask, if I had to, could I pause, cancel, or downgrade this for a while without putting my health or safety at risk? What tends to survive this test? Housing costs, basic utilities and internet, enough to work and communicate. Groceries that look more like beans and rice than sushi night. Transportation you actually need to earn income or function. Insurance you truly can't afford to lose for a few months. Minimum payments on debts. Everything else is negotiable, for a crisis period, not forever. Think of this like your life's emergency operating system. Your normal OS might be smooth and pretty. This one is stripped down, durable, intentionally ugly, but works. Now layer in the second part, your personal risk level. Two people with the same expenses might need different-sized safety nets. Instead of obsessing over a single magic number, walk through these dials you can turn up or down. Income stability. Are you more like a train, predictable schedule, same route every day, or a boat, waves, storms, calm patches? Freelancers, gig workers, commission-based jobs, or industries with frequent layoffs usually want a thicker cushion. How many people rely on you? If it's just you and a plant, your buffer can be leaner than if you have kids, aging parents, or a partner between jobs depending on you. Health and benefits. Solid health insurance, paid sick leave, and disability coverage act like built-in shock absorbers. If you don't have those, your emergency fund has to play double duty. Backup options. Could you move in with family, pick up extra hours quickly, or sell something meaningful without wrecking your life? The fewer backup doors you have, the more your cash needs to carry. Picture a mixing board in a recording studio. Each slider, income stability, dependence, health, backup options, goes up or down. The higher the overall risk volume, the more months of essential expenses you aim to cover. This isn't about fear, it's about turning down the background anxiety hum so you can think clearly. Once you've sketched your essentials and your risk dials, you can translate that into a first-pass target. Start with 1 month of your airplane mode life, not your current spending, your stripped-down crisis version. That number is usually smaller than people expect, and that matters. It shifts the project from, "I'll never get there," to, "Oh, this is a staircase, not a cliff." From there, imagine your emergency fund as a series of save points in a video game instead of one huge boss battle. Each level you reach changes what a crisis feels like. Level 1, you can handle the small, trip over a crack in the sidewalk problems without borrowing. Level 2, you can cover a full month of stripped-down living. Job hiccups become stressful, not catastrophic. Level 3+, you're buying time to job hunt with less panic, to negotiate instead of accept the first offer, to think instead of react. One more crucial piece: define your personal emergency rules before you ever need the money. When your roof is leaking is the worst possible time to be deciding what counts. You might write down, "I use this fund only for sudden, necessary, can't postpone hits to my basic life or income. I don't use it for things I saw coming for more than a month. If I'm not sure, I wait 24 hours, and if possible, ask someone I trust." It's like setting our fire alarm sensitivity in advance. Too sensitive, and you're emptying the fund for every minor inconvenience. Not sensitive enough, and you hesitate when the kitchen is clearly full of smoke. In the next part, you'll turn this from a theory into a plan. Where to keep this money so it's safe but reachable, how to feed it without starving everything else, and how to rebuild it calmly after you actually use it, which at some point you probably will. Think of your emergency fund like a quiet understudy in a theatre production. It's not the star of the show. That's your career, investments, and goals. But if the lead gets sick, the understudy walks on and the audience barely notices the crisis. Your job isn't to make the understudy glamorous. It's to make sure they're prepared, available, and not booked for another gig the same night. One way to picture this is as a series of doors in a hallway. When trouble hits, you want to walk through the "use cash I set aside for this kind of thing" door first, not the "borrow at 25% interest" or "sell something I love in a panic" doors. Each dollar in your emergency fund quietly closes one of the worst doors so you don't even have to look at it. Or imagine you're running a small one-person business called Your Life, Inc. Your checking account is the cash drawer. Your emergency fund is the business's operating reserve, money that sits in the background so a slow month doesn't mean you're auctioning off the office furniture. Real companies don't apologize for keeping cash on hand. They treat it as basic risk management. You get to do the same. Another frame, your emergency fund is emotional insulation. Just like insulation in a house doesn't stop winter from coming, it simply slows the temperature drop so you have time to react. A layoff or medical bill still stings, but it doesn't freeze everything overnight. That buffer of time is often the difference between "I can think this through" and "I'll take the first terrible option." You can also see it as a permission slip fund. When things go sideways, having even a modest cushion gives you permission to say, "I don't have to fix this today. I can gather information, compare options, and choose." It buys you better decisions. As you build it, try viewing each contribution less as "money I can't use" and more as "future stress I've already paid off." You're prepaying for calmer reactions to bad days. That might not look exciting on a spreadsheet, but in real life, it's one of the highest impact purchases you can make. An emergency fund doesn't just catch you when you fall, it quietly reshapes how you walk through the world. Once you know you can survive a few bad months, you're more willing to leave a toxic job, negotiate harder, or start a small experiment on the side. It's like hiking with a well-packed backpack. The trail isn't less steep, but you're not afraid of getting stuck overnight. As work, housing, and even weather become less predictable, this buffer turns into a kind of personal flexibility engine. It gives you the option to move cities, retrain for a new field, or take unpaid time to care for someone without your entire life unraveling. Think of it as runway for small reinventions, not just disaster recovery. Over time, that safety net can also change how you relate to money itself. When every bill isn't an emergency, you can zoom out, plan, learn, and align your spending with your values, instead of constantly putting out fires. In that sense, an emergency fund is really a possibility fund in disguise. Your emergency fund will always feel a bit unfinished, and that's the point. It grows and shrinks as your life does. Think of it like a garden on the edge of your yard. You check in, pull weeds, add a new plant now and then. It's never done, just steadily more useful. From here, your job isn't to obsess over the balance, but to keep the system alive. Review your airplane mode budget once a year, adjust your target when your life changes, and rebuild calmly after you tap it. Over time, that quiet habit becomes a kind of financial muscle, one that makes every other money move you make steadier and more intentional.